Hello friends, Anime Cynic here, bringing you yet another 12 view video, if I'm lucky. Over the last couple of days, I've had something of an epiphany regarding my channel. Basically, I was feeling a massive amount of pressure to not only make videos, but to make sure they were in line with my quote-unquote brand. Sadly, that mindset plagued me for longer than it should have before I realized how stupid it was. This is my channel after all, and I should do anything and everything that sounds interesting to me. That's how hobbies work. Which brings me to the subject of today's video, Kengan Ashura. I knew I'd wanted to make a video about this anime ever since I watched it on Netflix, but I didn't quite know what video I would make exactly. After some contemplation, along with the aforementioned epiphany, I realized that I just want to make this video as if I was talking to a friend of mine about an anime I liked. So hopefully it turns out well and is as fun for you guys as it is me. Be sure to like and subscribe if you do end up enjoying this video though. Where to even begin? Well, how about with the most obvious thing? The computer-generated elephant in the room, if you will. Yes, this is a CG anime, a fully CG anime. Something that probably turned a lot of people off this anime before even watching it. I won't lie to you like some people do and say that this anime is beautiful CG and is no worse than traditional animation. Many people, myself included, just prefer that hand-animated look if it's done right. That being said, as of late, more and more anime aren't doing the traditional style right, and are more eye-melting to look at than any CG. Black Clover, for example, looks worse than any of the worst examples of CG in anime. So while CG still isn't my favorite, with how lazy and bad animation has been in some popular shows lately, I'm personally much more willing to accept it. And boy was I glad I did with Kengan Ashura. Before I say anything else about it, I just wanted to say this is an anime I wholeheartedly recommend you go watch ASAP after this video is done. With that CG discussion hopefully out of the way, let's move on to something else I think will inevitably come up. Bakke. Yeah, there's no denying that there's some similarities between the two shows. No shockers here, I also love Bakke. In fact, between these two, I probably prefer Bakke to Kengan Ashura. They're both fighting anime focused on burly, manly men pushing their bodies to the extreme. But for all their similarities, they're also wildly different. Believe it or not, Kengan Ashura is far more brutal than Bakke, showing worse violence than I think we've ever seen animated in Bakke to date. Bakke also tends to emphasize training more, and Kengan Ashura is basically about selective breeding the best fighters. One thing both of these anime do is show us very unrealistic feats, but play them off as if they're completely possible for a normal person to do, or just any person to do. Between the two anime, I prefer Kengan's version of this. It does a better job convincing you that what you're seeing isn't batshit insane, but rather something someone could actually pull off. Even genuinely superhuman things that this anime puts in fights still seem like they make sense for the fighters to be able to do. I can't really explain it, so hopefully you understood what I just said. Okay, with those two things out of the way, we can get into the content of Kengan Ashura, aka the good stuff. There is a story, but I don't really care about it, and neither should you. What this anime brings to the table is brutal fights and fun characters. In fact, one thing that I think Kengan Ashura has over Bakke in spades is fun characters. Characters in general, characters with character, if you will. With Bakke, sadly enough, a lot of characters blend together and can be described as just the manliest man. Kengan Ashura boasts a far more diverse cast, and for me, that was one of my favorite aspects of the show. When watching an anime, it takes me on average 2 seconds to pick out a favorite character, but I've rewatched Kengan Ashura 4 times now, and I still don't have a favorite. There is something for everyone, although I'll warn you that depending on who you select as a favorite character, you may be in store for a very sad sight. There's a good chance your favorite boy will get absolutely wrecked at some point, and in this anime, it's gonna be a bad one, that's all I can say. As I said before, I don't have a single favorite character, but I do have a list of favorites that I'd like to go over. To start off with, we've got the Blind Fighter, aka Genocider. This guy is one half of by far the most brutal fight in the show, to the point where I would almost say you should skip it. Even the extreme violence can't take away this man's swagger though. He is just the coolest cucumber around, and I'm a fan. Of course, if you know me, you know I'm gonna love Adam Dudley. In fact, out of every character, he is possibly the closest to being my favorite. He is a giant, loud, disrespectful American who talks mad shit to anyone he sees and has quite the god complex. This is basically as close to myself being in an anime as I've ever seen, although I am taller than Adam, but do not possess his 90-inch biceps. He has a grill that says damn, but in the manga I've heard it says fuck, which quite frankly, that's something I would actually purchase in real life. I would unironically consider purchasing and wearing a grill that said fuck. This man is just a beautiful creature, and it sucks that he had to face such plot armor so early on. Julius is another character that I'm a huge fan of, simply for his simplicity. He straight up says that learning how to fight and using techniques makes you a bitch, and quite frankly, it's one of the biggest flexes I've seen in a fighting anime to date. He crunches bones like they're nothing, and that to me is probably the scariest thing to fight against. Imagine fighting someone who, if they touch you, your bones in that spot get shattered completely. That's horrifying to me, and the fact that Julius is strong enough to do that makes him quite a scary boy. All characters are great though, and these are just some of my favorites. Ideally, I'd like to leave some for you to discover if you choose to go watch the anime after this video. Next up, let's go over some fights. While I may not have been able to pick a favorite character, I can pick a favorite fight, so I'll talk about that first. Oma's fight with this big boy wrestler is without a doubt my favorite. Two awesome looking characters just brawling in a garage is grimy, or a parking garage, is grimy. It's so brutal. It's enough to satisfy any gremlins like me out there. But I think the reason I liked this fight is because at the end of it you realize this was all worthless and none of it mattered. All this brutality, and both sides gained and lost basically nothing at the end of the day. Ryan also has a pretty nice fight. If you're a true edgelord, this guy will be without a doubt your favorite character in the entire show. For his fight, there actually is some quote-unquote spoilers that I don't want to bring up, so for now I'll just tell you that Ryan's fight is a pretty neato meme and you guys should look forward to it. That's pretty much it. Was this the best video ever or the most important? Nah, but it's one I've wanted to make for a really long time. I just want to get the word out about Kengan Ashura and how fun it was to watch. Actually, it's basically been on my list of videos to make since the very beginning. I just haven't gotten around to it. I really hope Netflix continues to bring worthwhile titles and steps up their anime game. Frankly, even though Crunchyroll is lacking in many ways, Netflix is still so far behind them, it's embarrassing, or it should be embarrassing to them. I'm planning on doing a dedicated video about that in the future, so look forward to that if you're interested in such topics. Thank you though for watching, and once again, please consider leaving a like on this video.